Hey y'all, what's going on? Welcome to the GI Justin channel. I've got, as always, some really interesting stories for you that are really important current events that we're facing, and I'm going to run these things down for you and give you what the actual interesting information is on them, as opposed to just the black and white story or the super nuanced story you get depending on what you follow in terms of which media outlet you choose to go with. So interesting news today. First off, out of Turkey, which country we don't talk about very much lately, but interesting thing here going on with Turkey. Basically, they're beginning the process of ratifying Finland's application to join NATO, and basically they're saying that Finland has done everything they're required to do to get ratified and become a member of NATO. This is a big issue with Russia. Russia at one time tried to fight a war with the Finns, and as I am Finnish, kind of kicked their butts a little bit. Good for us. Big thing here is Putin sees NATO as a massive problem for him and as an issue with his ability to exert his dominance. He wants to create a second Soviet Union, and to do so, he has to restart the Warsaw Pact. And the more countries that join NATO, the more difficult time he's going to have in creating this counterbalance to what NATO is doing. The thing there that I think is the most interesting, early on in the war, Putin said part of the plan, according to his inner circle, was to weaken NATO and show that we were fractionalized and incapable of operating in unison. And I think this really shows that they're actually miscalculated that, just like they miscalculated everything else. So really, if you look into this situation, another example right here of how Putin has gone completely sideways and misinterpreted both how Ukraine was going to respond and how NATO was going to respond, because there's also another country who is interested in joining NATO and has begun their application. That's Sweden. So, interesting thing about both of these countries, they bring a very unique perspective to NATO that you don't see in a lot of other countries that are in the organization, and that is their long-range shooting and their Arctic warfare skills, which makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's Finland and Sweden. It's going to be, snow there until June. They'll take 2 weeks without it and then be right back to snow. But they're world renowned to be excellent long-range marksmen, and they do a very good job of training to fight in cold weather, because 90% of the time, that's what they should expect to find themselves in. So that's some really cool capabilities that they bring to the table. And that's part of, in my opinion, one of the reasons why Russia's trying to keep them out of NATO. And that is because Russia has always had one distinct advantage. You look back at Napoleon, you look at World War II, the biggest thing is winter warfare. The Russians, when things don't start to go their way, pull back into the interior of Russia and wait for the winter to show up, and they just let Mother Nature do her thing and kick your butt. It's happened several times now. And the thing is, when you bring in the Finns and the Swedish, what ends up happening is these dudes know how to fight there. They've got tanks and aircraft that are prepared for this sort of thing. They're ready to make this kind of warfare happen. And that is something the Russians are very concerned with, and why they really didn't want this to happen. So really an interesting little check and balance on what Russia is doing and how they thought this would go, and how it's just another way that it's not playing out the way they want. So that's the first little article we want to touch into today that I think there's a lot of value in, that is a lot going on below the surface. Got the iceberg action going on. So second thing I want to talk about, and probably the big news of the day, is that the International Criminal Court has issued an arrest warrant for Vladimir Putin, which on its face you look at and say, like, okay, he's not leaving Russia. Like, how exactly do they plan on getting their hands on this guy? There's that. But there's also a little meat on the bone to discuss here with this, because it's an interesting precedence and an interesting situation going on. And in the quote here on the statement, Putin is allegedly responsible for the war crime of unlawfully deporting children from occupied areas of Ukraine and bringing them to Russia. I mean, I find that to be horrific. I mean, you mean to tell me that they're rolling up on kids, kidnapping them basically, and taking them to Russia for what purpose? And I'm sure that Putin being Putin, it's most likely a dark and sinister purpose of child labor, or who knows, God knows what else terrible things. And the Russian foreign ministry has come out saying they have no meaning to the Russian Federation and they're completely null and void. The thing is, while they may not be able to do a heck of a lot with it, it does carry weight. It locks down his ability to travel because they're going to be keeping an eye on his itinerary and his ability to move freely. So there's that. And even furthermore, it discredits him and their ability to do anything. So basically, it's just one more linchpin in an absolutely failed attack on Ukraine and their ability to do anything. Piggybacking off of this, this basically arrest warrant, they're now saying that a UN-backed report is saying that Russia has committed a wide range of war crimes, including willful killings, attacks on civilians, unlawful confinement, torture, rape, and forced transfers and deportation of children. Additionally, Russia's attack on Ukraine's energy-related infrastructure and use of torture may be high crimes against humanity after they've interviewed 600 people, inspected graves, destruction and detention sites, and utilized satellite imagery. I think when this is all said and done, yeah, is that statement coming out saying it holds no power over the Russian Federation and they don't care, their response, yes, but those are some pretty serious accusations of crimes against humanity. I mean, we're talking about war tribunals, Nuremberg, where we're going to have a bunch of guys saying they were just following orders, sitting there in their little, Russian style, Soviet style uniforms with the 7,000 medals on them that are all just crazy gold and bright colors. And they're going to be up there saying, oh, it was all Putin. It was what he wanted to do, which begs the question, what is he doing? I mean, it's well known that the Russians are following what he's telling them. I mean, they're not just going rogue and making these things happen. So the question becomes, what is the future going to be? And I think that is the answer. I think if this thing does get settled down, what we end up seeing is a war tribunal where we get some judges together and all of these guys have to stand for these crimes, especially the higher ranking generals and commanders of these units that are committing these atrocities against humanity. So crazy, crazy news today. And I really enjoyed dialing it down to the bare bones for you guys and looking into it. So thank you guys so much for watching the video today and kind of interpreting through these couple of breaking news articles with me today. I love having you guys in the comments. So if you want to talk more with me about it, I love answering you and chatting with you about what's going on over there, what's going on over here, and how it impacts us at home. So thanks so much for watching, and you guys have a lovely evening.